Needy, a podcast about compassionate communication and applied improv. Hello and welcome to a new episode of Needy. Today I want to start with a little story. I live with my girlfriend for several years now, and at some point we agreed on a certain rule. No smartphones at the dinner table. The other day, my girlfriend made dinner. It was my favorite, chicken thighs with mashed potato. I had a really busy day at work and was at my desk until she called me for dinner. And to be honest, I felt like I didn't really have the time to sit down and eat with her. But I did it anyway because I knew she would be disappointed if I didn't. We had started eating dinner and I told her that I liked it, all that, and then my phone vibrated. I sent in an important email earlier and wanted to see if the person had replied, so I just picked up the phone to check. My girlfriend said, well, in a quite bitchy voice, "You can't live without it, can you?" So maybe you can imagine that this was the beginning of a very nice conversation. So I started justifying, sorry, I really needed to check this. She said something like, why can't you do it later? I just spent 1 hour cooking, why did I bother? Well, I didn't ask you to do it. And my voice became actually louder because I kind of felt a bit attacked, trapped, whatever, guilty. So she says, "Why do you shout at me?" And I say, "I didn't, yes you did." And you can imagine the escalation which followed. Sounds somewhat familiar, maybe? Perhaps you have already experienced similar debates on the mobile phone issue. In any case, I would now like to take a journey through your thoughts and judgments of this situation. I'm sure that they are completely different. Some of you might think, oh, how disrespectful. The girlfriend cooked this favorite meal of his and then the dude just ignores her. Another one thinks maybe, oh, how inconsiderate of her. The guy obviously had something important to do and there's no reason for the girlfriend to get all angry and passive-aggressive. Who is right? Well, in the last episode I already mentioned that in nonviolent communication there's simply no right or wrong. Today I want to introduce you to the famous 4 steps in the Rosenberg model. The 4 steps help us to understand what is going on inside of us in certain situations. In Rosenberg's words, these 4 steps should help us to find out what's alive in us and others. Instead of discussing who is right and who is wrong, these 4 steps are supposed to push us to a state which enables us to empathize and ultimately to solve conflicts constructively. So what are the 4 steps? Step number 1, describe objectively what happened. Step number 2, identify your real feelings by separating them from your thoughts and evaluations. Step 3, identify your fulfilled and unfulfilled needs. And last but not least, step 4, formulate concrete requests. The main focus of this episode will be step 1. Describe objectively what happened. How do we do that? Well, the basic idea is to separate observations from evaluations. Let's come back to this dinner table situation. After my girlfriend said what she said, I was furious. Suddenly, there it was. A fight, a conflict, an argument, or whatever you want to call it. We all know when it happens. Our hearts beat faster, stress levels rise, we may want to fight back, some rather run away. We basically become animals. More precisely, reptiles, because suddenly only that part of our brain is activated which we share with dinosaurs. Empathy? Nope. Reason? The proudest part of humanity? Maybe later. All that matters now is survival. And our dinosaur instinct is showing us the way. So what happened? Did it escalate much further? Obviously, I'm still alive. I survived. So did my girlfriend, by the way. And she didn't run away either. Actually, I exaggerated a bit, although I was angry indeed. Just like her. The thing about anger is sometimes it's better to let it out. If you're always censoring yourself, you eventually get sick. However, when we realized that we're entering this dinosaur mode, we stopped and asked the following simple question. What happened? What we both learned in all the years we have been together is to pull ourselves out of this spiral. Firstly, by giving ourselves some self-compassion of whatever we are feeling in such a situation, anger, fear, disappointment. And secondly, we try to separate observation from thoughts and judgments. You probably noticed that I told the story very much from my point of view. I included lots of judgments and thoughts I had in this moment, like I knew she would be angry, she had a really bitchy voice, this is super ignorant from you. So all these thoughts, and let's try and take all this stuff out. Imagine the most neutral observer, like a camera in a Big Brother house or something. What did the camera pick up? Well, probably the report would sound something like this. 6 p.m. A woman cooks some chicken legs, while a man was sitting at his desk, typing on the keyboard of his laptop. 7 p.m. The woman goes to the man and says dinner is ready. They sit down at the dinner table and start eating, when the man's phone vibrates. He looks at it and the woman says, "You can't live without it, can you?" So what do we gain from this? Why does Rosenberg tells us to formulate observations rather than thoughts and evaluations, judgments and the like? Remember at the beginning I said I would like to take a journey through your minds now, the minds of the listeners. Some of you might be more on my side in the stories, others on my girlfriend's side. The point is, in conflicts, evaluations about the same facts usually differ considerably. In fact, this is what causes conflicts. When we try to look at a situation neutrally, suddenly more possibilities evolve to look at the same situation from a different angle, from a different perspective. In my case, for example, from my girlfriend's point of view. Well, yeah, and she was standing in the kitchen for 1 hour. That's a fact. How would that make her feel? How did I feel? I acted quite defensive and then started to raise my voice. I was a bit angry. Which need was unfulfilled? So describing what happened as objectively as you can gives you some distance to reflect. It helps you to eventually connect to your true feelings and needs. And you get clarity on the facts, which paves the way for step 2, step 3, which is feelings and needs. At the same time, observation makes us learn that we are actually not simply observing, but that we are always judging. We judge everything around us. This is not something wrong or bad, because actually we have to judge in order to survive, actually, in order to be able to fulfill our needs. The only problem is when we are completely unconscious of the fact that these evaluations and judgments come entirely from within ourselves. So our evaluations are subjective, and someone else could evaluate the same observation in a completely different way. So by simply forcing ourselves to observe, we begin to take responsibility for our thoughts. What needs and feelings, other than anger, were my girlfriend and I dealing with? Is feeling accused or not feeling appreciated actually a true feeling? How can we express feelings so that we can take responsibility for them? You'll find out. Next week is all about feelings, step number 2, and also pseudo feelings and why these are so important. Until then, give it a try and practice true observation. Think of a recent conflict or a difficult conversation and write down all your thoughts and judgments you have remembering this situation. Thoughts and judgments about you, but also about the other person. Just write down whatever comes to your mind. Nobody will read it but you. And if you have done so, try to take the perspective of the camera in the Big Brother house. Formulate an objective observation. An indicator of how objective your observation is, just imagine all Big Brother viewers agreeing on whatever you have written down. And that's it for today. I'm looking forward to hearing your feedback, and if you like the show and you want to support me, then you can find a donation link in the description of this episode. Enjoy the rest of the day and stay tuned. Take care, Jakob.